Hello and welcome to Around the Ice on Fantasy and Frames. I'm your host, JT, along with my buddies Toast and Aaron. We're going to be talking a little bit of gambling, a little fantasy hockey, a little real-life hockey. I know the schedule's been crazy lately, but thank you for everybody joining us here on a Monday night. Let's get this thing going. Welcome in, fellas. It's been a while since we've all been on here together, actually. It's been quite a few weeks with the Four Nations tournament break, and then I had to miss a show, and Aaron, you had to miss a show, so we've not all three of us been on here for a little while, so nice to see you guys again.
Yeah, see you. JT, I'm really sorry, buddy, about your near miss of the playoffs in our home league. It was the tightest finish I can remember. 6 teams make it, and we actually had the 5th, 6th, and 7th place teams really duking it out there the last week for overall points. That's how we do in our league for the last spot getting in, and I can't remember it being that tight. It was crazy. But to also say is like, I'm kind of glad we're back in a groove of this. We're going to be going Monday night now, everybody, at 9:30 Eastern for the rest of the year, anyway. And then next year we'll get back to our normal Wednesday shows. But just for now, I'm sorry, Tuesdays, right? Tuesday shows. Sorry. I don't even know what day it is. And then Wednesday or Monday shows from here on out. But it's kind of sad. Like I wasn't in the hockey groove. I found myself actually watching a documentary on this Bill Clinton scandals with Monica Lewinsky. I'm in like episode 6 right now, and I'm like, holy shit, man, it's crazy. I'm like thinking, I forgot all that happened, and I'm like, this is wild. So, getting re-educated on that. So this is a blessing to actually be back talking hockey. It's a lot better than the crap I've been doing of late.
Yeah, trying to just missed the playoffs in our hockey league. I was trying to make some pickups at the last moment. I ran out of free agent fab money. I fought, but I just missed the playoffs. It was a rough one. Also, I got to go to the Stadium Series game. Red Wings, Blue Jackets. It was awesome. So anybody that saw my posts on X there, we had a great time. It was freaking cold. So not going to lie to you there. It was real cold. I probably was not dressed appropriately enough, as it was like almost 60 the day before when I was in Indianapolis, and then it was like 20 for the game. It was ridiculous. But it was cool. But it was awesome, man. I tell you what, Columbus did it right. I felt like I was at a college football tailgate. Man, there was parties everywhere. There was tons of people downtown. They had all kinds of stuff set up for kids, for adults. Practice your slap shot, all kinds of different things. It was really awesome. So going to a regular NHL game is always fun, but it was really cool atmosphere to see almost 100,000 people at the game. It was wild. We got lucked out. My cousin was able to get us some pretty awesome seats from some local businessmen in Columbus. So had a great time. The Wings took a tough loss, but it was a great night. Johnny Gaudreau's family was there, and his wife just had their kids. So they did a really nice job honoring him. And I just want to, give a shout out to Columbus. They did a great job. The Jackets, everybody associated with them, did an awesome job to kind of make this thing feel special, make it feel like kind of a one-off thing that you had to be at, which I think is always good for the NHL when they can get special things like this and it works out that way and it feels special. So I was pretty pumped. Definitely will consider doing a Stadium Series game again in the future sometime. Going to be tough to beat this one, though. Like I said, Columbus had everybody out. I felt like I was at a Big Ten football tailgate. It was pretty awesome. I'd never actually been to Ohio Stadium either, so that was cool getting in there, checking out. Luckily got to go up to the club level, all kinds of cool stuff. It was a really great experience.
Yeah, what they have, JT? Like 93,000? something like that.
I think it'd be like 93 to 94,000. It was packed in there, man. And everybody was into the game. Actually, I had a couple people comment because I had my Red Wings stuff on, and there was a lot of Red Wings people around me. Everybody was really chill and cool. Like, we didn't have any issues with anybody kind of trying to start fights with each other or getting up it. It was both fan bases were really like, inviting and, obviously in the playoff hunt as they came into that game tied for the last playoff space. So it was a huge game on top of that. So not only was it a special event, it was a pretty gigantic game for both teams, but everybody did a good job. Everybody cheered for their teams, a little bit of ribbon here and there, but nobody took it too serious. Nobody got too crazy. So I thought it was really great. The Detroit fans showed up. A ton of people traveled down for the game, and the Blue Jackets fans came out in droves. So it was really cool. It was a good mix of both teams. And like I said, maybe it wasn't for everybody, but where I was sitting, everybody was super cool. We were putting our bets in together, which we just barely did out. Marchenko goal, I think, was the only thing that got us in the JT parlay play of the day. We had a 7-legger going. I think the goal was the only thing we missed. So it was a cool event, and like I said, everybody was cool there. But yeah, wish you guys could have went to the game with me. I know you guys had a ton of stuff going on, but we'll get to one of these days.
And you look at what you just said, JT, real quick.
Yeah,
on that,
super disappointed I couldn't make that, JT. I had a.
Yeah, Toast, I know you had track, and Aaron, you had a bunch of other stuff going on, but we're going to get to one of these days here. We'll get to a Blackhawk. Hopefully we'll get to a time where the Blackhawks are back in it. We can go to a meaningful game. that would be nice.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we got a comment here from our buddy, John McGlynn. Hey, John, thanks for joining in. John, like me, just missed the playoffs, but he made a lot of trades in our home league, trying to get younger, trying to get draft picks, so he was making moves. Me and John spent the weekend in Indy before Columbus. I was back. We were at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis, so we went over there for Fantasy and Frames, interviewed some players, watched some stuff. I've got a bunch of articles coming out in podcasts on everything I saw on that for the NFL people. But for now, let's get back into hockey. Let's talk a little gambling segment, should we, fellas?
Where's my money? You gonna give me my money? Where's my money, man?
So, Toast, I know we were on quite a heater before the break with the tournament, and we kind of got cold again. Slowly but surely trying to get back in here this weekend. Like I said, just missed my parlay on the Blue Jackets Red Wings game. What do you guys got going tonight? So far, we've got a 1-game final. Rangers 4-0 over the Islanders. We got Ottawa currently 4-4 in overtime with Washington. Blackhawks 2-1 against the Kings in the second, and then Buffalo, Montreal 3-2. Montreal leading in the third. Tampa Bay down 2-1 to Florida. That one's almost over. There's about 20 seconds left of that game. And Toronto currently up 2-0 on San Jose. Did you guys go in on anything tonight, or do we want to talk about kind of what's coming up this week?
Yeah, JT, didn't go anything tonight just because everything was an early start, in accordance with our show here tonight. So I got 3 or 4 matchups for tomorrow that I actually like to discuss, and we can do those. Unless you have something you actually want to discuss that you had going tonight.
No, I'm with you, Toast. I had nothing. The only thing I'll talk about, and this segues into some of the bets, so I'll let you get to your bets first, but the Lightning-Panthers game, those two teams beat the shit out of each other. So that influenced one of my bets. So a little teaser to that. But yeah, no, same strategy. I like the spread of the Tuesday nights. Typically, you have some early games. You sprinkle those in with the late games. You get on some of those some of those parlays with the anytime goal scorers, and you can cash those out. So the strategy that you guys have been looking at this year. So yeah, no, I all my eggs are in one basket, and that's tomorrow night.
Yeah, and JT, I'll start off here by mentioning a couple of the games here. And Aaron, I'll try to go one by one, so I'm not stealing any of your thunder. But Pittsburgh, Colorado game tomorrow. And Pittsburgh, they have been giving up a crap ton of goals. You guys probably saw that the Nedeljkovic actually got pulled the other night. Man, He had the old Patrick Waugh stare down of the bench when he actually left the ice. Man, he was not happy about getting pulled. Well, I mean, he should have been happy. He's sucked lately, and I'm not saying Pittsburgh defense been doing any favors. This are not, but this matchup is very unique because both teams actually didn't play yesterday or tonight. Sorry. And are going to be well rested. Actually, coming in tomorrow's game, they've been scoring high scoring games of late. These last 6 matchups have actually gone to the over 6.5 4 out of the last 6 times. And those 4 matchups that have actually went the over, there's been a combined 34 goals, which is an average of 8.5 goals per game. So, and then you just can tell, but the trend, the way that's actually going, Pittsburgh giving up a crap ton and Colorado scoring of late as well. I just like the over 6.5 at a -102, so you can get it to even money. That's my first one. Aaron, I'll turn it over to you and let you actually talk about another game, and you can bounce it back to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right. Building right off that, I haven't watched any of the Lightning Panthers game, but typically, even though and these are both playoff teams as they stand right now, so. With the 2-1 score, sounds like a real grind out. Those two teams, I don't know if you guys saw, but they had the clip of Lomberg playing in Tampa. They interviewed him. I don't know if it was TNT or ESPN broadcast, but they were playing in Tampa, and he, said something about, "Oh, do you like playing at Tampa?" He's like, "Well, I like the palm trees, but I hate these guys." Talking about the Panthers skate for warm ups, or Lightning skate for warm up. Excuse me, but anyway, just again reinforces this. So those two teams get together, they beat the hell out of each other. Coming off of JT's game where Columbus ended up winning. They're in, like you said, they're neck and neck with Detroit. That was a meaningful game. They played very well. They aren't the greatest team defensively. I think they're 26th or 27th in the league for giving up goals. But overall, they are 5th in the league in goals per game. So it's about 3.35 goals per game. So they score a lot, but they give up a lot. But Tampa's 9-0-1, not including tonight, which looks like it will be a loss if did that go to final? It just went to final. Panthers did win. So 8-1-1 in their last 10. But the streak, I mean, they've been played hot, but all streaks come to an end. Columbus is playing very well. They're playing for their playoff lives. They're playing playoff hockey. Lightning have a little bit more comfortable position. So I'm taking a goal and a half, mixing that in a parlay. So first game, I'm taking a goal and a half with Columbus Blue Jackets coming off the big win, the big primetime win, and then going and playing likely a beat up Lightning team because they just played Florida tonight. So I'm taking the goal and a half, and I'm going to mix that in with some other games as a 2 or 3 leg parlay.
Yeah, and I like that move there, Aaron. I'm also on that game tomorrow. I'm also on the over again, the over 6.5 at -120. I went back and did some digging, and the last 12 games these teams have played one another, there's been a combined 103 goals for an average of 8.6 per game. And the last 2 games, they've actually scored a combined 17 goals in the last 2 games against one another. So love that over. JT, I have to ask you, the Columbus jerseys, were they wearing the cannon on the front of the jersey?
Yeah, so they both
That's so cool.
Especially jerseys. So they had the huge cannon on the Columbus jersey. They had a really cool patch, like where the captain patch actually was the state of Ohio, outlining the sea. They had a bunch of cool patches on it.
Nice.
The Red Wings wore a special where it said Detroit, white Detroit jersey, and they actually had wings on the helmet, which I thought were awesome. Like I didn't love the stripe on the helmet, but I love the wing on the helmet. Something they should probably go to a little more often, which is also surprises me. You always have the goalie that's always had cool, paint jobs on the face mask and all that, but all the other NHL helmets don't have anything on them. So it's always surprising me that no one has any kind of design or look there. So I think that would be great if they kept those on there permanently.
Yeah, I think so too. That would be really, really cool. And man, I'm really thinking that Columbus, again, who everybody knows on this podcast that listens regularly, they're my second or third favorite team behind the Blackhawks, them, Ottawa and Columbus. And man, those cannoned on the front of the uniform. they need to have that in their rotation, no matter at least 8-9 times a year. I would do it. That's a cool jersey.
I actually got a picture of they had the cannon on the outside the ice, set down where we're at on that side. I got a picture of it. Then they, of course, whatever the goal was, they blew the cannon. It was awesome. So, I mean, they had a bunch of cool stuff. They had, flyover. They had fireworks. I tell you, I mean, it was crazy. It felt like a big time, college or pro NFL game. So it was really cool. I loved everything they did about it.
Another game I like for tomorrow, guys, you got to think that Edmonton's going to get off the snide here a little bit. They haven't been right since the Four Nations, and McDavid hasn't been right. So Edmonton's been a little cold of late. Anaheim, we know what they are. They're not very good at all. They're coming to Edmonton. This may be what Edmonton needs to explode. And I like this being a good parlay piece. If you get Edmonton over 3.5 goals at -175, it's a nice parlay piece. I do think Edmonton's going to explode on this Anaheim team. And this may be the one time this year where if you wanted to get McDavid at 2 assists and you actually want to get him at over +200, you could definitely do it. Because he's been quiet, man. 1 goal and 8 assists in his last 10 games. Like, well, that's 9 points in his last 10 games. That's really quiet for McDavid. I mean, to not be a point per game in the last 10 games, that's just not him. And again, since he's come back from Four Nations, it's been Draisaitl. It's been Draisaitl actually kind of just gobbling up a lot of the points and stuff. And Draisaitl, man, he's got to be. I still think he's got to be the favorite for the Hart. I just it's got to be there. JT, we may want to look up and see what Draisaitl's odds are for the Hart Trophy for MVP right now. I would think they'd probably be around +300, +350. I don't know. But he's the one carrying that team right now. And McDavid's has kind of been, well, he hasn't been McDavid. So, but I do like Edmonton in a spot over 3.5 goals tomorrow, -175.
Yeah, they just broke their 5-game losing streak with that 3-1 win over Carolina the other night. So finally, because I was looking at that game and I was like, I really wanted to take Edmonton, but they were on that 5-game losing streak. I'm like, am I just like trying to will a win to them, or should I take them in the spot against Carolina? I ended up avoiding it, didn't take it. But they ended up finally getting the win, and maybe this is a nice little spot with Anaheim and then Montreal that they can kind of turn it around and start being who we thought they would be. Because right now they have not played great.
Yeah, I totally agree with both of you guys. Just continue with the focus here. I had that game pegged as well. A little bit more conservative bet with not great odds. I'm kind of leaning towards yours, Tosa. So I was just looking at my phone now where you're actually calling out the goals there. Because I think Edmonton will dummy them. I think they'll tear them up. They need this game, like you said. I had Edmonton on the 3-way. That's coming in at -155. But if you parlay that again, you take a goal and a half with Columbus, a little padding, because they are playing the Lightning. Lightning are no slouches. Well, the Ducks are slouches. They're terrible. Edmonton's going to run all over them. And then I would say with this bet that I've got, because if you combine those two right now, I'm sitting at about +131. Not the greatest of odds, but I'm going to throw an anytime goal scorer in there. Hottest guy in the NHL right now, or one of the hottest scorers, Jason Robertson. Put in a couple more over the weekend. The dude's shooting it. He looks like he's confident out there, just flying around with Rupe Hintz. These guys are all over the ice. Doesn't matter if you're a good team, if you're a bad team. He's putting the puck in the net. He's on a tear. Going Jason Robertson, anytime goal. That is not out on DraftKings yet, so I don't know what the final odds are on that 3-leg parlay, but that will be my 3rd leg. That's what I'm taking for tomorrow. And then I'll, of course, take a crazy one. I'm going to take a JT parlay to see if I can retire. And
there we go.
That'll be my conservative parlay there.
Yeah, Toast, I just pulled up you were wanting the Hart odds. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm guessing that Draisaitl somewhere in the neighborhood of +300, 350. I don't know.
Not even close. He's -130 right now.
Are you serious?
He is the leader at -130. Connor Hellebuck is +120. McKinnon is 750, and then everyone is plus 1,600 for Kucherov, plus 3,000 for McDavid, and plus 5,000 for Quinn Hughes right now.
Oh,
wow.
Put $1 million on McKinnon right now. I mean, it's find $25 laying around the house and actually put it on that plus 750, somewhere around there. But because that's the best odds. That's the best odds. I don't. The goalie's not going to get it. That's not going to actually happen. It's Draisaitl or McKinnon, and that's it. And man, I'm shocked by that because there's so much hockey left to play.
Yeah,
there's so much hockey left to play. I'm shocked.
It feels like there's only a week left in the season with that odds. You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
It's almost lined up already.
Yep, that's crazy. The Draisaitl bet's not the bet to get on right now, and you're not going to get better odds on McKinnon at plus 750. Go ahead and sprinkle on McKinnon right now for sure.
Yeah, I was trying to see if there's any other good odds for other awards out there, and they pretty much there's not a lot of great ones. It's the Rocket Richard, unless somebody gets on fire, Draisaitl right now is minus 1,600. Nylander is number 2 at plus 2,200, and then Sam Reinhart at plus 2,500. So a lot of those ones. I was trying to look through a few other. Calder Trophy right now, Celebrini minus 250. Hudson, your boy Toast, plus 250. Mitchkov plus 1,000. Dustin Wolf plus 2,000 are the 4 out there. Vezina, that's all Connor Hellebuck. Not even worth putting a bet on. He's minus 4,000 right now. Number 2 guy is Vasilevsky at plus 2,500 and Logan Thomas at plus 2,500. Everyone else is plus 10,000 or more. So, wow. I mean, that's a wild one there. I mean, if anybody's going to win, it's going to be Hellebuck with that. But that's wild. But just a couple of those, and then the Norris right now. Cale Makar leading the way at minus 140. Quinn Hughes is plus 250. Zach Werenski, who I just saw with the Blue Jackets, plus 300. Those are the top 3 guys there.
Yeah, I like Werenski. I think that's pretty good odds right there. He may be your dark horse at a good price, but to anytime you could actually have Nathan McKinnon at a plus 750 for the Hart. You got to just put something on that a little bit. That's the best odds out of everything you just mentioned. Out of all of the bets, that's the best odds by far. Not even close. And right now, Draisaitl has a 9-goal lead right now. And the only guy I could actually see getting hot and actually maybe catching him would be Pasternak. But the problem is Boston's just not Boston. And even though Pasta's been hot of late, he's been really rolling. But man. They just aren't the same team. We've discussed that before. They've actually been in the past. So it looks like it's going to be Draisaitl running away with it. Unless McDavid decided this would be McDavid for the last 30 games of the season here. And just literally actually, let's say he put up 60 points in the last 30 games or something, which he could do it. So at plus 2,000, you said, I mean, worth a sprinkle. The best player in the world at plus 2,000.
Yeah, I was trying to look at stats for goal scorers to see where we're at. Right now, Draisaitl's got 44, so he's 9 up on Nylander. 34 for Scheifele. Pasta at 32. Now, the only thing with Pasta at 32, if you got an injury to Draisaitl, he got crazy. He's at plus 7,500 for Pasta right now.
For the Rocket Richard?
For the Richard, he's plus 7,500.
That's a play. He's the only guy that actually could get that hot and catch him and score in bunches. Nylander's just got to share the puck with so many great players and stuff. So it is Pasternak or bust over there in Boston from a goal scoring perspective, and he's the only guy that could do it. And at that odds, again, find some change in the cushions.
$5 gets you $380 right now.
Yeah, you could find $5 on the cushions of the couch.
Right. That's one less Starbucks in a week.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah. I'm doing that. I still actually got my
$10 gets you $760 too. So if you want to bump it up just a hair, $760 on the return on the $10 bet.
Yeah, 10 for sure. And
yeah, that's not bad. Not bad at all.
Any other games you guys thinking about tomorrow or anything else for the rest of the week here as far as the bets are concerned? Or are we ready to move on?
I think we're ready to go around the ice, JT.
All right, let's do it. Let's do this.
Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game.
All right, so let's go around the ice, talk about what's kind of going on. We just brought up a few teams. The Oilers had been struggling. The 5-game losing streak finally popped off that one. Red Wings, Blue Jackets. Obviously, the big game is if you look at the standings right now after that win by the Blue Jackets, it has them 2 points up on Detroit right now in the East for that final, the number 1 top wild card there. We got a couple teams getting hot, a couple teams not. As we've had some teams struggling here a bit. Kind of what teams you guys got your eye on right now, or who you want to talk about as we kind of finally got past the Four Nations tournament? Kind of feels like we're almost in another season, doesn't it? A little bit. It's like we had that big break, and now it's like, oh, okay, this last half of the season feels like it just kind of its own season to it. Anybody you guys got your eye on teams thinking of? I mean, Winnipeg still out there with 88 points, number 1. We keep waiting for them to fall off, and they're not. They've looked great. Dallas struggled for a little bit, but they seem like they're starting to turn it on a little bit. Colorado was that team struggled early on with the goaltending. They're in 4th in the Central right now with 72 points. Who else we got our eyes on, guys?
Well, Aaron, I do have some teams here. I got 3 or 4 teams I kind of really want to check in on anyway. But do we go ahead and talk about the Florida-Chicago trade right now, and maybe talk about those teams as well for a minute? I know that us being the Chicago homers, but this is the biggest trade that's actually happened in the AHL. One of the biggest trades this year, not counting the Mikko Rantanen trade. I would say beyond that, this is the biggest trade so far.
Yeah, let's discuss it up.
Yeah, I mean, my quick take on it is Chicago absolutely fleeced them. Spencer Knight. The only thing was, let's start with why would Florida do this? I mean, Seth Jones is the big name defenseman. He just had that albatross of a contract, $9.5 million. Chicago's only retaining 2.5, I think, is a minimal amount with the cap going up. But Spencer Knight, he's been in and out of, I think he's been in the assistance program, if I'm not mistaken. So he's had some off ice issues where if he gets that under control, this could go back to the reverse on the Dominic Hasek trade that they did, 20 some odd years ago, when they pretty much gave up the best goaltender for a bag of used pucks. It could be to that level of a guy that was just kind of a cap drain, said in the media several times didn't want to be there, played like he didn't want to be here. And then you're talking about a goalie. And if you look at goalies across the league, historically, with rare exception, these guys mature later than the players. We do see some 18, 19, 20-year-olds playing at the NHL level. They start out, they're great. You have generational talent, your Bedards, your Celebrinis, McDavids. Those guys are rare, but it's still not that rare to start the NHL at 21, 22 if you're in a skater position. Goalies, it's totally different. You come up and you get shelled. A lot of times those guys kind of mill around in the AHL. They mill around in the European leagues, and then they come out and they seem like they come out of nowhere. Look at Washington, perfect example. Most points in the NHL. They got 2 old guys. They got Charlie Lindgren. He wasn't doing shit for the longest time. And they got Logan Thompson, a cast off from Vegas. And it's a great, awesome 1-2 punch in net. So you look at a guy like Spencer Knight, he's young, he has played well, he's got tremendous stats, and they get a pick with him. So I couldn't be happier as a Hawks fan, as an NHL fan. We got our goalie, Soderstrom. He's looked okay. He'll be a great backup. He'll do what he needs to do. But as far as a Hawks fan go, this loved that trade.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Aaron. I tell you what, Spencer Knight, you just don't see many guys drafted 13th overall at the goalie position.
Right.
And he was actually drafted 13th overall. I forget which year it was, but nevertheless, if you look, he's played in Florida in his year 20 years old, 21, 22, and 23 is 23 this year. And if you look at his stats, now again, that's a really, really good Florida team, right? Let's not forget that. But nevertheless, and if this guy was actually struggling, like you said, and actually in the players assistance program, but the talent is there. He has never actually had a save percentage under 900 ever. He is 44-25 at the NHL level, and he is just 23 years old. And that is no different than like an NHLer coming in at an 18-year-old and actually being productive immediately. Yeah. And you just don't see that with goalies. You don't see it. So to have 44-25 at his young age there at a career goals against average of 906, and really, if you look at what he did at Boston College, 16-4 with a 218 and 932. He's dominated the USA under 20s, back in 2021. And really, he's got really, really good AHL notes with the Charlotte Checkers as well. This is a guy where you get him, you actually also get a first-round pick. Now, granted, that's probably going to be a late first-rounder, but so what? I mean, you're getting a first-round pick, and you get to give up a guy like Seth Jones. Seth Jones wasn't going to be in your plans. And Seth Jones actually wasn't even signed by this regime that's actually in Chicago right now. He's a Stan Bowman signee. And at $9.5 million, I'm not saying that I think he plays more like a $7 million player, which is really, really fine. And we have to retain a little bit. But here's the deal with the Hawks and why this makes so much sense for them as well. They actually found their 1A, and they may end up having their 1B in Soderblom, who's actually played really, really well over this year, especially with just not a whole lot of help. But the Hawks next year in this offseason, now granted, we got to sign some guys, but it doesn't matter. We got $40 million in cap space. And then get this, for the 26-27 season, we've only committed to $15 million. We have $85 million in uncommitted space 2 years from now. So it just makes all the sense in the world for the Hawks. And Seth Jones didn't make any sense for the Hawks whatsoever at all. And so he facilitated a trade. He actually wanted out. Florida, they're getting their power play one quarterback, guys. I mean, so if you're in a dynasty league, Seth Jones is still he's not terribly old. He's actually going to be on a great offense and a good position there for power play one. I like Seth Jones there. And if you like Seth Jones with Chicago, you're going to like him anymore. He's going to go in there and get 25 minutes of time on ice. Right. Going to get power play time as well. Seth Jones became better from a fantasy perspective, way better. And he was already decent. So this is a win-win for both teams. But I do think Chicago gets a better end of the deal given what they actually got. But from a fantasy perspective, man, Seth Jones is going to be really, really good in Florida.
Yeah, definitely.
Do either of you guys think the Blackhawks make any more moves? Do they got a couple more moves in them this year, or are they staying in patch, you think, for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think Ryan Donato is going to be on the move. I read some more today. He's got 18 goals this year at 5-on-5. I mean, so that's crazy. That's actually more than actually a lot of the superstars around the league is what. And Donato is actually on the last year of his deal, a $2 million deal. So he's a UFA coming up here. So the Hawks don't even have to retain salary on a guy like Donato because the amount's so low, and they can't retain anyway because we've used all of our retention spots the Blackhawks have. They've already used all three for this season. So Donato's going to be on the move, and man, I tell you what, if they could screw around and actually get a second rounder or something like that for him, considering this is the hottest he's actually been. He's got 15 points his last 9 games, something like that. And he scored tonight. He's actually got he's got an assist tonight as well. He's going to go. But Aaron, you tell me if you actually think so as well. I think Peter Mrazek's got to be on the move for the Blackhawks. You still got Brossoit under contract. You're going to want Soderblom to go and take the rest of the starts with Spencer Knight. Mrazek, I think, will be the odd guy here. And Mrazek's actually played well. If somebody needs goalie depth down the stretch here, I think Mrazek will actually be a really, really good pickup. And probably the Hawks can't retain on him, but I actually believe his contract may be somewhere around $3.5 million or whatnot. But somebody may be knocking on the door for a Mrazek, maybe like an Edmonton or somebody. They need a goalie. So we'll have to kind of keep close, but I think they're not done yet for sure.
Yeah. When I think of goalie too, I know Detroit sits a point or two out of the wild card spot. I certainly hope they get that point, but they could be let's smash some faces. I could see a team like Detroit getting Mrazek as a backup.
A reunion.
He'd make full circle. Now, when I think of goalies too on the market, I'd rather have Josh Gibson, but I think Mrazek's right there, kind of that 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Donato, I agree. Everything I'm reading, it's Donato's on his way out, career year, UFA. Makes most sense to lose Donato. I like what he's done. He's shown some chemistry with Bedard. I hope he stays personally as a Hawks fan, or they work out a deal where they get him, a couple more years, to throw him maybe gives him a hometown discount. I think he's played great. He's been one of the brighter spots in a pretty dismal season. But I see Connor Murphy shipping out as well. I'm not sure how much he has in his contract or what he's got left, but defensemen seem to go at the deadline. We're pretty well stocked with defensemen as it is. I know you're second to last points in the season. You're giving up tons of goals, but that's because our forwards suck ass. But we've got depth at defense. Del Mastro's come up. He's played well. I think he got a goal in there too.
Got a goal.
So yeah. I think Connor Murphy. I think it's Connor Murphy, and it could be both. It could be both Donato and Murphy. It just depends on how far they want to cut. I mean, you've got to keep someone. You can't turn into Buffalo. That's my big real fear here. Is if you look at all the ex-Blackhawks, we've talked about this on the pod before. You look at all the ex-Blackhawks that are zipping around out there right now, Forsling and Hagel, and we could go on and on. You got a pretty solid team out there that's on different teams. Same with Buffalo, Reinhart, Bennett, all these guys that they've Montour, all these guys they've given up on that went on to play really well and win Stanley Cups. If you had just ex-Blackhawks and ex-Buffalo Sabres, you probably have a contender. So I just hope they don't cut too deep. Let's keep some guys that have fit into the system well. I don't know what they're going to do at coach, if they're just going to, I don't know, extend what's his name, whatever the tournaments now, or what they're going to do with that. So maybe that makes you want to get rid of some of those veterans. But yeah, I definitely agree with you on Donato. Unfortunately, I think he'll be gone, but I think they'll send Connor Murphy packing too.
Yeah, and we'll get off the Blackhawks here, JT. I know we could just sit here and talk about them all day, but they are an intriguing team with this deadline here. But but if it's not the deadline in the offseason, we can guarantee the Blackhawks will bring in a superstar to play with Bedard. They have the most cap space. They actually have the most draft picks and the number one picks as well. We're stacking a lot of these picks so we can actually package them. And also, too, I think the Hawks are going to do some major damage in a draft coming up. I could actually see them getting a guy like Misa, and also actually getting a guy like Higgins as well, because they could actually have 2 picks in the first 6 or something like that in the first 5, because we got so many first and second round draft picks. It's ridiculous. So they're going to make a big splash. They know they have to. They can't ruin the kid, and I don't think that would actually happen regardless. But at the same time, you can't continue to actually go on this path here with him. And you could tell he's obviously frustrated. He actually has never been in this position before. He's been a quiet of late as far as numbers go, but he still actually put up really, really good numbers as an 18 and 19-year-old actually going in here. But mark my words, they will sign a superstar, whether it be a Mikko Rantanen, whether it be a Mitch Marner. Someone's coming to Chicago, and then I think they're going to get some depth pieces as well. It's too good of a hockey town. It's a destination place where players actually want to play. They're in the original 6, and they have the cap space, and they actually have the picks. They have all the flexibility if you were to actually get it done. So I think they're going to make a big splash.
Let's get our Ovechkin update. Washington still piling it on, number 1 in the East, number 2 overall with 86 points. And Ovechkin, he's getting some goals. He's staying up here. Aaron, what's going on with him and the Caps as they continue to stay on fire?
Yeah, tonight, unfortunately, with the Caps putting up 5, he didn't get one tonight, but yeah, got one yesterday, and it wasn't from the office, the OV office. It was actually, a pretty good. Got some space and put up a high slot and scored a goal from some distance yesterday when they played, or Saturday. I can't remember when it was, but yeah, 11 away from the record. I think it's 11. Might be 10. I'd have to look.
I think it's 11. I think you're correct.
Is it 11? Okay, yeah. So. I mean, now you just keep every time he scores, you look at that schedule, and I know we talked about it a couple pods ago, but you look at those games, like you're starting to back that up when you look at the Cap schedule, because you're like, oh, it could be against this team. Oh, it could be against that team. Now it's like, there might be a week or two left in the season when he gets it. But yeah, he's just again. I mean, what can you say about him that hasn't been said? He's still passionate. I love what he's doing now, where he's got his son in the stands and he's going up and he's fist bumping on the glass on every goal that he's getting. So, he's aware of it. He's got the fans behind him. Again, didn't get one tonight, and well done, by the way, by the Ottawa Senators. They were down 3-0. They came back and tied the game and snuck a point out of there. They stole a point from the Caps, but yeah, Caps are just a great story. We've been on them all year. I know some of our co-workers here at Fantasy and Frames, diehard Caps fans. So always good to see that team do well. None of us predicted to do this well, but good for them. And I just cannot wait till Obi gets it.
Yeah, I saw that he's projected to actually get it versus the Blackhawks on April 4th. In Chicago.
Oh, really?
So,
God.
That would be wild.
Yeah, wouldn't that be wild? That is one of my futures bets. I actually put in there for Ovi to actually get the record this year.
So did I. I did as well.
Yeah, so it's looking pretty good so far, and I think he will get it. And it's amazing considering all the games he had off, missing 17 games, and he's still actually going to make get to that 42 goal mark or whatever it's actually needs to be, and pretty wild. He's probably going to make it regardless of being that out. You still can't believe it. How old is he? 38, 39? Yeah. It's unbelievable.
And a broken leg. It's not like we're talking about, he pulled something, he stretched something. No, a broken leg. I would miss more time at my desk job sitting than he did playing at the NHL level. So yeah, just amazing. Yeah, if he gets it, I got like $750 coming my way. So I'm the biggest OV fan right now.
Yeah. You're right, Aaron. You and I just sitting on the desk here, we could just break our asses, just sitting here. So, let alone break our leg and actually still playing 17, 18 minutes a night.
I know. Oh.
I think we got one more team we were going to talk about. Toast, you want to give us an update on what's going on in Montreal?
Yeah, so Montreal's won 5 in a row, JT. Man, that Eastern Conference wild card right now, I don't know if you end up bringing it up there, JT, but I could just tell you 7 teams within 5 points of one another. And your Red Wings are right in there, man, and Columbus is in there. And the Habs, they had some rough times there for like a 10, 12-game stretch after getting hot, and they went ice cold, and now they come back after this 5 Nations thing, and, man, they're just on fire again. And a player I'm going to talk about a little bit later, Nick Suzuki. Man, Suzuki's so freaking good this year, and I want to talk about him later on. They're led by him, and they're starting to turn it on again. And the key will be is, can Patrick Laine actually stay healthy the rest of the season? He's proven he really has a hard time staying on the ice for over 2 weeks at a time. But if they can actually get a Laine healthy there for the rest of the year and actually getting some cohesion there with guys like Slavkovsky, who's actually coming on as well, I like Montreal. But, man, that Eastern Conference wild card race, it is going to be nuts down the stretch. It's going to be a lot of fun hockey.
Yeah, absolutely. For some people, it is, fantasy playoff times. For others, you're coming down to the last week or two of your fantasy season. Let's talk about some guys that are hot and cold. Let's do some hockey.
Hey, as they say in hockey, let's do that hockey.
So this is our segment where we're talking about some players that are hot and cold on the ice for fantasy purposes. Like I said, if you're in a league like ours, our league, we play double 2 weeks for the playoffs. So we are starting playoffs this week. If you're in a league that only plays one game per week, and depending if you go at the end of the season, you're probably approaching your fantasy playoffs right now. So you're within probably a week or two of getting them. Who are some guys that we got hot right now as we head into the playoffs?
Aaron, you want to? Here, I'll start off.
Yeah,
here.
Go ahead.
And I tell you what, let's just start off with a team. Aaron, you mentioned them, the Dallas Stars. The entire freaking team is hot from a fantasy perspective right now.
Yep.
Rupe Hentz, 15 points in his last 10 games. Robertson, 14 in his last 10. Duchesne, 14 in his last 10. Johnston, 13 in his last 10. And Hartley, 12 in his last 10. Dallas has 4 games this week, guys. Tomorrow, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. But then the next week, they only play Friday, Sunday. So keep that in mind. If your playoff format is just for this week and this week only, your trade deadline is probably passed. You're probably not going to get Hentz, Robertson, or Johnston, but there may be a Thomas Hartley available out there, especially in those really shallow leagues. He may be worth a pickup right now, man, and he is on fire right now. And so is the old man, Matt Duchesne, man, at 34 years old, I believe I have him. He could actually be available, but I'm thinking Harley is probably your best get, but that entire team is hot. So if your trade deadline has not actually passed yet, and you're actually looking at some maybe bottom feeder teams, somebody actually has one of these guys, and they're actually in need for maybe some future picks, or maybe a young player in return, maybe because they're not in a win now mode right now, you might want to go look at Dallas because we've kind of been waiting for this explosion from them all year. It's not that they haven't been good all year. They have, but they have not exploded like this all year offensively. And this is the first time they've actually done it, and you wonder how long it's sustained. And it's a great time to do it during the playoffs. So go look at this team, man. The Dallas Stars, we all know they're going to be real dangerous come playoff time.
Yeah, and I'm going to mention 2 guys that are in real life, they're kind of on the trade block here. They've been mentioned in moving teams here at the deadline. But Brock Nelson for the Islanders, he's had a pretty solid week. Last week in our league, 2 goals, 4 assists, be getting a lot of ice time. Game-winning goal in there. It doesn't really hit much, not too many block shots, but he's been scoring, showing up on the score sheet. He's coming off a back-to-back pretty hot 2 weeks he's put together. The other guy, Braden Shen out of St. Louis. Now, that is one guy that I myself got on my own team, so I practice what you preach, right? He had a really good week last week. Again, could be a guy that's on the move, but it sounds like St. Louis they just keep getting further and further from their playoff spot. So if he finds himself on another team that usually injects some sort of response, either they're completely off the score sheet or they're hot scores. So I would just keep my eye on those. Those guys don't grab headlines like a Robertson, like a Rupe Hentz, like a Wyatt Johnston. So all your Dallas guys, yeah, I mean, like you said, they're grabbing headlines. The team's playing well. They look like they're ready for the playoffs. But Brock Nelson, Braden Shen, I mean, those are guys that are kind of that 5th, 6th tier type. If your trade deadline hasn't already happened, or if you follow the real hockey, might be a guy to look at. Might even look at, I could see maybe in a really deep league, not a deep league, but a shallow league or a redraft league, could even be on the free agency list. I'm not sure what their owner percentage is, but a couple guys to look at that have played well recently, could be on a new squad, and sometimes that'll spark some scoring streaks as well.
Yeah, JT, I'll tell you what, another hot player I want to talk about before we maybe turn over to some players that are just ice cold. Real quick, I won't spend too much time on this player, but James Van Riemsdyk, man. And again, we're going to talk about Columbus. They score, and they're fun to watch, and they got an unbelievably deep and young team. And I love who he's actually playing with. He gets to actually play with Kent Johnson, he was actually been awesome this year. I mean, that's a guy that Blackhawks had a love for him. Didn't get but he's not going nowhere. Come on, let's not joke ourselves. Kent Johnson ain't going anywhere. Cole Sillinger, he gets to play with him as well. So Van Riemsdyk's only 1% rostered in Yahoo, 11% rostered in Fantrax. 29 points in 53 games for Columbus so far. He's on a 45-point pace. But here's what I like. In the last 17 games played, he's got 14 points. And doesn't shoot a lot, only 28 shots on goal. And he actually doesn't get a whole lot of power play, only about a minute on ice. But he has raised his time on ice about 3 minutes in relation to the first 15 games of the season. So if you look at maybe his third quarter of the season out of the 4 quarters total games played, he has churned it on. Really, I think it has to come down to so is Kent Johnson. Kent Johnson's actually turned it on as well. So Van Zerindijk's out there. I mean, 1% roster in Yahoo, 11% on Fantrax. This is a guy where he's actually going to pile up maybe a few goals and some assists. Has been on a heater of late. And so I'd take a streamer on him. If I were you, hell, I'm thinking about going to pick him up just for the playoffs here. I'll have to see what Columbus's schedule is actually looking like over the next 3-4 weeks.
Who do we got that's on a cold streak here we're trying to avoid if we can help it?
Poor Steve Stamkos. JT, you want to guess how many points he has over the past 13 games?
I know it's been bad because the Predators haven't been good, and so I know he hasn't been good ever. I know I've been going against them betting-wise pretty much handily here of late. Where is old Steve Stamkos at? How bad are the struggles?
0 points in the past 13 games. I don't know if Stamkos has ever done that in his career.
I didn't realize it was
honestly,
that bad. I knew it was bad.
Yeah, and what's going to be a Hall of Fame career? Has he ever done something like that? I don't think so. I go so far to say absolutely he probably hasn't. And what's shocking, 21 shots over that 10 games. He's not doing anything. He got a minus 10. It's bad. And here's what's worse. He's 35 right now. He's in the first year of a 4-year, $8 million AAV deal. What are they going to do with that? You know, I mean, this whole thing is just blown up and backfired. You know, what the Nashville did in the offseason with bringing him and Marchessault in there. And it's mind-boggling to me. And we all thought it was a great idea, right? Remember at the beginning of the season, Aaron, you and I were like, man, bringing in Marchessault, who actually shoots a puck a ton, Stamkos being on that left side and actually play some center for you as well. And really getting him with a guy like Forsberg. It just hasn't worked. And now they're actually stuck here with a 35-year-old that's not going to be done with a contract till 38 at $8 million a season. I don't know. It's one of the worst situations possible. But he's cold. He is. I traded him for Neil Pionk as well in a bangers league here in our league. I almost feel just dirty after doing that. I feel dirty, man. And Pionk's, I think, only 26 years old, and he's one of the top 10 scoring defensemen in our league in a bangers league. And I sent Stamkos out there, a 35-year-old, straight up, and didn't have to do anything with it. I'm feeling a little dirty after that.
Toast, I know you got him pretty late in our startup draft, and it was like he shouldn't have gone this late, but you were also worried about what he was going to produce. And you're right. You got rid of him right at the right time because you got a steal on him in the draft, and then he has done absolutely nothing here of late. So those are one of the ones you kind of feel bad about, but you're like glad you got it done just in time because you couldn't sell him for anything right now.
No, not for a bag of pucks, which is the Steven Stamkos and a bag of pucks in the same sentence. It just doesn't feel right. So I don't know. Hopefully he'll be bouncing back next year, and hopefully they'll actually figure it out because even at 36, it's not like he forgot how to play hockey. I still think he actually has 65 to 70 plus seasons left, and he has that left in the tank. It's just it's mind-boggling right now. That just goes to show you how big of a mess it is.
Do we got anybody else on the list before we move on?
God, I feel bad. I feel bad even calling this guy cold. The only guy I had cold was Jake Gensel, but he's a point in 4 assists in 12 games in that same time span. So that doesn't even fall in the same category. I had no idea Stammer was that dead. So I'm saying it for the sake of I tried to find a player that was cold, especially after the Four Nations. You kind of touched on McDavid a little bit. He hasn't been himself. I mean, he's the hero of Canada with the goalie he got. So fine, he's on a break. And Gensel played well in the Four Nations as well, but he hasn't played or really shown up or seen what we've seen. But that's nothing compared to an 0-4 in 13 games. My God,
it's unbelievable.
That's bad. That's a bad look.
Well, let's talk about some young guys. They're good. Let's get off these cold guys. Let's talk about some young players.
And you, young Skywalker, we will watch your career with great interest.
So this is our Futures Bright segment, excuse me, where we're talking about some of the young up-and-comer guys, some guys are either in college or in the minor leagues that we got an eye on. Who are some of the players we want to highlight this week?
Well, I feel bad bringing them up because I've literally, this is the third time out of the 20-week season I've actually brought him up. But how do you not talk about Nick Lardis again? And again, kill me for a homer. He's a Blackhawk prospect. But I'm going to bring it up because of this. 66 goals in 58 games. So I'm going to repeat that. 66 goals in 58 games at the OHL. Since 1990, there's only 2 other players that have had more goals than him in the OHL in a season. John Tavares was 72, and Eric Lindros, all the way back in 1990, was 71. And Lardis has still got 9 games left, and he's actually on right now about a 1.5 goals per game average. It looks like he's going to knock on the door of 80. My guess is he's probably going to end up with 76, 77 goals, somewhere around there. 19 years old, 67th overall pick in the 2023 draft. What a steal. I don't care about him being undersized at 5'11", like 165 pounds, where the hell he is. And like, what does that transition to the game? I mentioned Tavares. I mentioned Lindros. I'm not going to say that Lardis is going to be the players they are. Let's say he probably won't be, obviously. But you were going to pass him up and actually do something that nothing's actually been done in the past 35 years in that OHL. And in the same amount of games, you're going to score more than those guys. It's unbelievable. And Lindros was a number 1 overall pick. Tavares, I think, was either a number 1 or number 2 overall pick. Lardis was picked 67th overall. So, I mean, he's going to be in the AHL next year in Rockford. Start the season, I guarantee he will be. And if he even has some success down there, which you think he's going to, then he's going to move up to the big club sometime at the end of the season next year. And then you're going to hopefully have him full-time in AHL by 26, 27. And again, that's when the Hawks have that $85 million in cap space right now. And that'll be the time for hopefully Lardis could be a top 6 player and actually slot in there and just be a sniper, man. I mean, so he's a left-handed shot, but nobody saw this coming. I mean, and again, for me to bring it up the third time beyond the Futures Bright segment, actually talk about Lardis, it's got to be mentioned. I'm sorry, it's got to be mentioned.
Better be right. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I mean, no one saw this coming from 67th overall pick for somebody. I don't care what league it is. He's at the most goals between the OHL, the AHL, and the CHL as well. So basically all of those combined, he is the highest goal scorer this year, and he's going to be doing something and beating out those guys. Something hasn't been done in 35 years. So, yeah, pretty darn good, man. So Nick Lardis from the Brantford Bulldogs of the OHL.
Yeah, definitely got to keep an eye. I mean, that's some great company, Lindros and Tavares. I mean, geez. I mean, those 2 guys are great. Like you said, this is all part of the Blackhawks plan to get some of these young guys. Hopefully some of these guys hit and move up and give them some time and then get them on the ice there, hopefully here in a couple of years. Aaron, you got anybody on your list for tonight?
Yeah, just a couple of quick guys, again, coming off the heels of the 4 Nations and then doing kind of what I've taken a deep dive on all teams, just going alphabetically. So not too far along that list. Buffalo Sabres are up next, but 2 guys that obviously they didn't play in the 4 Nations, but they did play in the World Junior, both from Sweden. But a couple of blue chip prospects, Anton Wahlberg. He's not going to have any of those jump out numbers like Toast just shared, but Anton Wahlberg, he's got 21 points, 45 games. He's playing at the AHL level. Again, one of those blue chip prospects. It looks like he's got the frame for an NHL forward, kind of lean toward the offensive zone type of guy, 6'3", 200 pounds. God, if Buffalo does this, I think they're the stupidest people in the world. I talked about it a little bit about you take all the ex-Blackhawks, take all the ex-Sabres, and you got a Stanley Cup team. But if they move Dylan Cousins, like I could see one of these two guys coming up. So first one being Anton Wahlberg. Like, he's playing in the NHL or AHL, excuse me, at Rochester now. And then one of his teammates, Noah Ostlund. He's got a little bit better. He's got 22 points in 30 games, so a little bit better point production. He was a 16th overall pick in 2022. And he again has that experience at the international level. He was a point per player in the World Juniors this past tournament. So has played on a big stage, playing in the AHL, which is as close as you can get to the NHL. So again, just looking at historically who's had a good pipeline and who's produced NHL caliber players. You can say the Buffalo Sabres, they just don't hang on to them. They can't figure it out. They get rid of, Eichel in his neck. They couldn't figure that out. Eichel goes out and wins a cup. Again, we talked earlier, mentioned Reinhart, mentioned Bennett, these guys that are Reinhart's got 100 million goals since he left Buffalo. It's like, man, what, they're certainly developing the guys. Are they giving up on them too soon? It seems like it, and that seems to be what the Hawks are suffering a little bit of. I'm not going to fully, say that okay, they can't figure this out either, but that would be my worst nightmare, I think, is to turn into this perennial AAA team for all the other teams in the league. Oh, we'll develop your players, and then you'll end up getting them. That's no way to live. So, yeah. But keep your eye on those two guys. They could be. Doubtful that they'll be up this year, but next year it looks like there's going to be some room for them on the Sabres.
Yeah, and Aaron, I'm really interested in Wahlberg. I was just looking up his bio there, man. 6'3", 195 pounds, center. Yeah. I mean, and they said his 200-foot game is amazing. So he basically dominates in transition. They said great defensive game and offensive creativity and goal scoring ability. I mean, you're looking for a 200-foot center to actually play on a PK, have that type of height, that much reach with a stick as well. I mean, that's a guy that I hadn't actually heard of. We'll have to definitely look for him on the radar. Hey, if you're listening right now, you're in Dynasty leagues, man, go look at Wahlberg. That's guys. He's got the stats, the physical stature to actually back it up.
All right, let's get into our Bangers League segment. All right, in this segment, we talk about guys in banger leagues, who's kind of hitting it. Our home leagues are banger league. Right now, we talked about it earlier. Of course, my team just slightly missing the playoffs. And then, Toast, I don't know if you guys noticed my score for tonight, but I'm absolutely rolling today. Of course, one day too late, as I've got 53 points already with 11 for Barkov, 7 for Tavares, 10 for Matheson, 9 for Dubois, 8 for Bob. So of course, all my guys, I missed the playoffs by 10 points, and then I'm absolutely murdering here the day after, as I knew it would happen. So let's get into our Bangers League. That's what our home league is, getting extra points for penalty minutes, blocks, hits. Who do we got as some guys we want to feature that are if you're in a Bangers League, come down the stretch as a guy you want to have your eyes on?
I'm going to do this in less than 30 seconds. JT Miller, 15 goals, 33 assists, 48 points in 51 games. Since he's been dealt to Vancouver in 11 games, he's got 6 goals, 7 assists for 13 points, but 40 hits as well. A wrecking ball, man. But all I'm going to say is he's actually done wonders for Mika Zibanejad. Zibanejad has actually been brought back to life since Miller actually was acquired by the Rangers as well. And then you guys see Will Cooley as well, what he's done in Bangers League over the past 30 days, which is like 10 games. He's a top 7 or 8 player, and he scored again a couple times tonight. Cooley actually doing it as well, actually getting that appointment with Miller. I mean, so we'll go look at Will Cooley. But I'll ask you guys, he's got 5 more years on his deal at $8 million AAV. What would you give up for a guy like Miller in Dynasty? I mean, are you worried about going after Miller at 31 years old in Dynasty? Are you giving up young 21, 22, 23-year-old prospects that are NHL ready and picks to get a guy like Miller right now? I think I would. I don't know. What would you guys do?
If I'm going to win it all, I think I'm in the mix. I think he's still going to be good. He's only 31. He's still got some good years. And I tell you what, he's sprung some life into this Rangers team. They looked like they were dead in the water a couple weeks ago, like before the 4 days. They looked like they were in trouble. They made this trade, and all of a sudden they're in a playoff mix. They're only a point out right now. He's kind of doing something a little bit different there in New York. Maybe that's what he needed, was a little bit of that change. And like you said, Toast, it seems like a lot of the other players that were kind of performing below expectations have kind of turned it around since he's gotten there. He's kind of got them up. So if I'm in a win now situation, I don't have a problem moving some younger guys or some picks to get him if I think he's got a shot to put me over top, especially in a bangers league where you said it, Toast. He's getting some hits, and a lot of stuff lately is going to add, that's adding to his offensive prowess already. He's definitely a guy I wouldn't mind going out and trying to acquire.
Yeah, I mean, 4 hits a game since he got there as well. I mean, he's not only playing effective, he's playing pissed off, and just raising the play around everybody around him as well. I mean, he's the best thing that could actually happen to that team. But even at 8 million AAV, even in cap leagues, I'm kind of liking it. I like it. I'm willing to actually give up some young talent for a guy like Miller. I think he's actually going to be. He's back home. When I say back home, just back where it actually started for him, back in the Rangers there. And I like it. I like it a lot better there than I actually did in Vancouver right now.
Aaron, do you have anybody for the bangers segment, or?
Yeah, a guy that's only owned in 20% of leagues according to Fantrax. Plays for the Utah. Jack McBain. Averaging, he's got 209 hits, so he's in our league, our banger league. He's toward the top 10. He's one goal off of his career high of 13 goals, so he's not going to score too many goals. He's the definition of a banger. Hits and block shots are the only way he's going to show up on the score sheet. But at 3.5 hits a game on the year, and a goal away from his career high. I mean, this guy could be, one of those, Tom Wilson, that kind of in the latter half of his career is one of those guys that kind of brings his game out and is noticeable, even with some years on him. He's not young, or I'm sorry, he's not old at all, but younger guy, but just something to keep your eye on. Again, with him owned and so it's such a low percentage, he's likely a free agent. If I would bet all the money in my wallet he's a free agent in your redraft league and worth a look. But if you're Dynasty and you have the banger format, he should be on a team at this point. And again, with that owned percentage, he's probably out there somewhere. He's doing what the word says. He's out there just, mucking it up. Might not be getting the goals. He doesn't look like he's got too many assists, but he's out there hitting guys.
Sometimes that's all you need in a bangers league. You just need a guy that gets hits, right? He's this good guy's going to get you a couple points a night. He's not going to give you probably 8 or 10 or 11 points ever. But if you can get you a consistent 2 or 3 points a night, those guys make a difference over the long haul in a full season. So
they can. I would say the advice I would give anybody getting into especially a dynasty league, no matter the format, set your bottom of, or set your floor of points per game. If I want these guys to get X amount of points per game, maybe it's 3.5. Be nice if it was 4, but whatever that is, set that floor there, and then that's how you look. Don't worry about the name. Don't worry about the team. Sort them off at points per game, and you might be surprised. You could throw together. I think it was it Martini who when he came on the pod earlier in the year, he was kind of looking at the draft in that, hey, I'm looking this way, so I don't care the name on the jersey. I don't care what the front of the jersey. I don't care about any of that. I'm just looking strictly at these stats. And yeah, those guys, you throw them out there collectively, and you've got a consistent, whatever it is, whatever you need, those points per week, and that can add up.
I love it. All right, we ready? You guys got anybody else you want to talk about? Or are we ready to move on to categories league?
I think we're ready to move, JT.
All right, let's do it. Here we go.
Let's take a look at the board. And the categories are.
In this segment, unlike the Bakers segment we just did, this is our categories league. So if you're in a league that sets it up where you're going based on goals, points, assists, goalie saves, wins, all those types of different categories, these are the players we talk about here. Toast, you want to kick us off with the player you want to talk about here for Cats leagues?
Yeah, I'll talk about a center, which I'll say that centers are probably the most valuable players in category leagues, in my opinion. Minus the dumpster fire and crap show that goalies are. I mean, I hate when you actually have category leagues and basically there's like 10 or 11 categories and 3 of them are by goalies. Like, it's just a mess. But Nick Suzuki, man, from Montreal. And we all know Suzuki's a really, really good player. But I want to ask you guys here. Let me go over a couple of things here. But I want to ask you guys how good you think Suzuki is compared to some other players. I like him in the categories for goals, assists, takeaway, giveaway. He's awesome. And then faceoffs one. And so let me share something with you here over Suzuki's last 5 games. Here's his stat line. 2 points, 3 points, 3 points, 1 point, 4 points. I mean, so, geez, 8, 11, 13 points in the last 5 games. But right now he's got 19 points in 45 games. I'm sorry, 19 points and 45 assists. 64 points in 61 games. He's scheduled. He's been on that upward trajectory every season in points. 41, 41, 61, 66, 76, and this year he's probably going to knock on a door of close to 90. And he's 25 years old. Maybe 26 now. I don't know. He's young, right? And now Montreal's starting to come on with Laine there, Slavkovsky actually there. Hudson. They got a lot of good young talent, and then Matheson there as well. So I like Montreal actually moving forward, with them being original 6. And man, there's nothing like the Bell Center from what I hear. Anyway, it's insane. You got to think that they're going to actually go in big. The only thing that Montreal's got going bad for them is like most of the Canadian teams as well, is just the fact that the Canadian dollar isn't actually lined up to the American dollar as well. And for the cap, I mean, those teams got to spend so much more money to actually get to the cap ceiling than the other teams actually do. But no, Suzuki had another point tonight. So he's up to 65 points in 61 game played right now.
Wow.
So pretty awesome. But I think Suzuki's underrated. An ADP of 93 this last draft here on Fantrax for redraft leagues. I mean, so I think that's low. So let me ask you guys. Here's players that are around him in points. Eichel, Point, Keller, Marner. Where do you rank Suzuki amongst those players? And it's all right if you he's 5th out of those guys. It's fine, but I will say the only thing he doesn't do a lot of is shoot the puck. He's not a shooter. He's only averaging 2 shots a game. That's his only downfall, but he could do everything else. And he's a 200-foot player. Category, he's awesome. So what do you guys think? Eichel, Point, Keller, Marner. Where do you like Suzuki?
Off the top of my head, I'm probably going Point, Marner, Suzuki for me. It's probably those 3 guys in a row there. The thing, like you said, Toso, Suzuki only 25. He's 1 assist away from setting his career high for assists in the season. So he's right there. And he's 20 games less still to go. He's about ready to get that. He's at almost his career high for hits. He's got 52 hits this year.
Yeah.
So he's not a guy that gives you a ton of hits, but he gets you some. He's a little less than a hit a game, which is nice. Like you said, the faceoffs won, make a big difference in Cats leagues. The faceoffs is real nice. You said shooting, again, only 2 a game. Career high is 185. He's got 122 right now. So he's still kind of in that range. But I think the big difference for him, he's kind of reminded me a little bit of Dylan Larkin in the fact that we knew Larkin was good, but his fantasy stats weren't great because the Red Wings weren't very good. And he didn't have a lot of players around him. Now you've seen him as they've improved as a team, his stats have gone up. He's looked a lot better. I think Suzuki's right there now. He's a guy I think people are going to have to start paying more attention to because, again, he was a good player. Was a good player on a bad team, and you just didn't know how much you could count on him. But now that Montreal is kind of starting to turn it around, they're playing pretty well, and this team is in the mix for the playoffs. I think there's going to be a chance that people start giving Suzuki a little bit more praise and start looking at him as a little bit of a higher commodity than what he's been in the past. And I think a lot of that has not necessarily been the way he's played. It's just been people have looked at, he doesn't have a great opportunity to score. He doesn't have other guys around him. And since he's not a shooter, he needs to get assists for the most part. But he's right there stat-wise. Like you said, Toast, last year, career high 77 points. He's already at like 61, 62 this year with like 20 games left. And he's had now 4 straight years of over 60 points, and he's had never less than 40 in his career, which is pretty amazing. So I think Suzuki, maybe not a super sexy name to some people, but I just think he's a really solid player who probably at this point isn't getting enough credit.
Yeah, and I would pretty much agree with what JT said. By default, he's the 5th pick out of those choices, just because again the like a recognizable name, but not a grab. It seems like in Montreal, the guy that scores is going to be Caulfield. Maybe Suzuki's digging it out of the corner, setting him up, or Slavkovsky. Now you got Line in there shooting the puck. So he just that from a fantasy perspective. But I would say if I'm in a cat league, now I've got pause because of those extra things that you brought to the table that you were talking about, Toast. His face-off wins, his giveaway takeaway ratio, those things that can set your team ahead on that. Like Marner, until recently, he didn't ever back check once. This year he's back checking, but prior to this year, that guy sucked on defense. So you would be better off in a cat league taking a guy like Suzuki. Again, I think Marner I wouldn't say it this year, but Eichel's kind of develops his defensive game as well. But I probably in a cat league, I'd probably put him, maybe top 2 or 3 out of that list. But regular category or banger league, no, I'm with JT on that. I'm probably taking him out of that list. I'll take him 5th, but yeah, just one. I didn't know that he's been that consistent. That's pretty impressive. And he's 25. That's the other thing too. If you're in a dynasty, age is a factor. The dude's 25, and Montreal's on their way like this right now. They're just taking off. If they make the playoffs, they're playing on house money this year. They should be a playoff team next year for sure.
Yeah, and here's and absolutely, Aaron. I think it well said. And here's one telltale I actually want to say before we actually move on and let Aaron talk about his guy. But here's his plus minus since he's actually been in Montreal. And I'll start at his first year: minus 15, minus 5, minus 29, minus 13, minus 14, and here we are as a plus 8. That just goes to show you the team right now, they're turning the corner. And he's actually getting players to play with. I think that the iron's hot right now to actually strike on a Suzuki. I would go out and try to get him, especially in dynasty leagues. And I would actually probably give up quite a bit to get him. Like you said, actually, he's going to hit. He's maybe going to get you about a hit a game as well. So he actually does have some peripherals. He doesn't shoot the puck a whole lot, but man, a lot of 19 goals still for a guy that doesn't shoot a whole lot. And it's not like he's bloated like at a 20% shot rate. He's getting 15% shots. He gets the penalty kill as well. He plays on that 25% of the time. So I just think now this is a time. This is a time for Suzuki. I really, really like it. That plus 8 is really, really telling.
Yeah, that's a good point because again we're approaching the off season. Well, we're in the playoffs, one step at a time, right? But we got our draft coming up. So those that are in the Dynasty League, these are the kind of thoughts and predictions you should be having. Who's going to make the team? Very rarely is it the same teams every year making the playoffs. Yeah, your top teams are there, but some of those 7th and 8th seeds, those are like random teams. So yeah, it's if they're up on the upskill, it might be a time, or up on the upswing, it might be time to go out and grab that guy.
I like anybody. Aaron, you got somebody you want to talk about for Cats League?
Yeah, real quick, not a deep dive at all, but Chris Tanev, he's hurt right now, but he's playing for Toronto. Toronto, I think, I was just looking at the game. I think they won that in the shootout.
They
when they were
lost
playing
an OT.
Oh, they did lose an OT. Oh, my God. Yep. Well, it's probably because Tanev's hurt. But anyway, this guy, he's out there getting those block shots. So for your Cat League, again, you're looking at those, kind of off the cuff scores. Dude's sitting at 151 block shots on the year so far. He's due back this week. He's right there with the McBain that I talked about for the Banger League. He's only owned in 14% of the leagues in Fantrax. He's a free agent everywhere. If you're in a Cat League, go and get him because he's blocking shots with his face. Toronto, they're going to make the playoffs, obviously. They've got some games coming up where when they're at home, he's out there against the line 1A of the other team, so he's seeing a lot of shots against them. And again, he's laying out and he's getting those blocks. 151 on the year. That's a lot of block shots. That's a lot of bruises. No wonder he's out. But yeah, that's the guy for categories.
Yeah, and so kind of final thoughts of the night for everybody. We just, like you said, the Sharks just won 3-2 in a shootout.
Wow.
Canadians won 4-3 in overtime. Rangers won 4-0 over the Islanders. Panthers won 2-1 over the Lightning. And the Caps also winning in overtime. They shot 5-4. And then we've got the guys we talked a lot about tonight, the Blackhawks up 4-1 on LA. And guess who is having a fantastic game? So we brought him up earlier. And that is your new Blackhawks goalie. Knight is having a hell of a game at this point in this one. He's already got 36 saves on 37 shots. He's only given up one goal. Spencer Knight has been phenomenal tonight. 9.73 save percentage, 36 saves. They're up 4-1. Should put this one away. But already it looks like it's paying off for the Blackhawks with that trade. As you guys kind of talked about it, he should probably end up being their number one goalie now, as he's kind of been playing behind Bobrovsky the last couple of years, but getting a chance to kind of show out and prove what he can do on a young team. So love that move. So Blackhawks currently up 4-1. Well, we've gone a little on the overtime, but we knew that was going to happen here. Our first new Monday night. We haven't talked in a while, so we knew it was going to be a little bit of a longer show than our typical hour show. But great to see you guys again. Great to chat it up on hockey. I'm over here licking my wounds for missing the playoffs. Still upset about it. I know there's probably one or two missed players throughout the year that ended up burning me in that final missing the playoffs by 10 points. But you guys are both in the playoffs. Good luck to you as you make your moves. And I'm just going to have to do just a little bit better next year. A little bit better. It's been a hard-fought season. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in our playoffs and other people's playoffs. Final thoughts from each of you guys.
I mean, I could open up a can of worms here and we could talk about it in our 10 minutes. And I know we went 20 minutes over, but the trade deadline is Friday. Mm-hmm. So, so that's going to be exciting. I think there's going to be a lot of movement. And the only thing I'll actually leave everybody with is Mikko Rantanen actually going to Carolina and a big trade for Martin HS. Is Rantanen dealt again? I'm just saying because I'm like he hasn't signed a long-term contract. Carolina's a little bit worried about that. Rumor has they actually offered him somewhere in the neighborhood of like 12 over an 8-year and that's again it's rumored over an 8-year deal, and he still hasn't actually signed that. And what they gave up to actually get him just to let him walk, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there. So I think Friday. Don't think there couldn't be some fireworks, and that would be wild, wouldn't it? In the event that they like this move his ass again. I mean, so that would be crazy. I don't know if you guys have any predictions for Friday. Throw them out there real fast. But I just think it could get wild on Friday.
I will say the only prediction I have, because I agree, and I always love trade. I don't care what the sport is. I love trade deadline day because stuff happens. We had a little bit of action before the Four Nations this year. We had the Spencer Knight movement. So Fridays is sets the stage nice for this trade deadline. But I will say this, whichever contender gets Scott Loughton, I love that guy in Philly. They will win the cup. That's my only prediction. Put your futures bet on. Watch where Lawton goes, where he ends up. He's the prototypical NHL player. He can play in any line, anything. He fights, he hits. He will make the difference on the contender. And if he doesn't go anywhere, fine. But if he goes somewhere, put all the money you have on that team to win the cup, and they're going to win the cup. So that's all I got.
Awesome. JT, you're on mute.
Thank you. I would be interested if anybody like the Jets or the Capitals, two teams that nobody was expecting a lot of, but both have been great this year, whether they're happy with their team chemistry and everything that's going on. They say, hey, we're good, we stand pat, or whether either one of those teams try to make a move and bring one or two more guys in for the run. It'll be interesting because sometimes, you always want better players. Everyone knows that, but sometimes you don't want to disrupt your team chemistry. If your team has been playing so well with who you have, sometimes you don't want to go make and mess with that. So that's what I'm going to keep my eye out on. Do either of those teams do something to try to improve themselves, or they say, hey, we've been playing this well so far, let's not rock the boat, let's not screw with anything, let's stay with what we got. So I think that'll be interesting. I think New Jersey is another team. The Devils could possibly make a move and bring some guys in, so it'll be interesting to see kind of where they go from there. And then a team that's kind of been in the mix for people, and we've seen they've been up and down all year, is the Maple Leafs. Do they make any moves? Do they go try to get guys? They're one of those teams that they've been fighting with bad goaltending play is really what's killed them, but there's not a lot of guys to go out there and get. So it's like, where do they kind of go from there? So I think it's going to be interesting. Some moves still to go. And again, if you're in a league that hasn't got to the playoffs yet and you still haven't had your trade deadline, ours cuts off right before our playoffs start. If you haven't had your trade deadline, or if you're in a dynasty league with no trade deadline, keep an eye out on some of these guys. It might be a good time for you to go make a move if you're trying to make a run for a championship, or if one of these guys up in a better spot and you might be able to get a little bit more than he's worth, might move a guy to a contender and get some younger players for the future.
Yeah, and JT, real quick, I like your mention on the Jets. The Jets actually at Winnipeg, they got $3.5 million in cap space left, and the Capitals right behind them with $3.8 million. So Toronto, hands are tied a little bit, guys. They got only $101,000 in cap space actually left, and I'm not sure if they have any long-term IR options, right, to actually place anybody on a long-term IR where they actually could free up a crap ton. Don't think they're there. So they actually have made their bed already, so to speak. So you got to think that that Winnipeg and Washington, they got to be a little active there. They're going to have to be active at the deadline. They got some room to move there.
All right, I think that is going to about do it for us. We're coming up about the hour and a half mark here as we finally got the boys all back together here on Fantasy and Frames Hockey. So good to see you guys. For the foreseeable future, at least for the rest of this season, we will probably be likely here on Monday nights, switching over from Tuesday because of some scheduling conflicts for us. So look for us 9:30 Eastern Time, 8:30 Central on Monday nights here on Fantasy and Frames. Be sure to go check out all the rest of the content on Fantasy and Frames, as a lot of the football shows are coming kicking in as we got the Combine just finished up, and we got the NFL Draft month and a half away, boys. I mean, it's almost here. So we've been doing all kinds of draft content and things over there on Wednesday nights here on Fantasy and Frames. So make sure you guys check all that out as well. Like and subscribe at Fifth Hockey. Follow me at JT Orange, Toast at Toast Clark, and Aaron at Titch4141 on X for all comments. If you're jumping into the gambling segment, make sure you look at Toast Takes coming out almost every day. We give him a little bit of break here. He's been hot and heavy in the track season as he's a track coach. So we're giving him a couple days off, Les. He had a lot of stuff going on for that. But he'll be back into the mix bringing you your Toast Takes. And we'll see if we can get ourselves on another heater here down the stretch for the last 20 games of the season. So for Toast, for Aaron, I'm JT. Thanks for joining us again here on Around the Ice on Fantasy and Frames. We'll see you next week.